Welcome, my lords, to Second Breakfast. We are so back.
We're back.
All of us, definitely all of us are back.
All of us are here. No one's left behind at all.
It's been a little bit of a hiatus. Newsflash, Second Breakfast is back, but Sean is no longer with us. Maybe we'll talk him into... Okay, that made it sound like he died.
No. He's not dead. He's not dead. He's not dead.
He's not dead.
He's just not sitting at the hearth with us.
Breakfast.
He's not here by the fire with us.
Yeah, he's like morning Wheel of Time or something.
Yeah.
But going forward, it will be me, Jason, and my new co-host, Swarlz. If you want to introduce yourself.
What up, everyone? I've been on an episode before, so this is a return for me, and I'm so happy that Jay asked me to be a part of this. I love Lord of the Rings, grew up with the movies, and am so stoked to talk about Rings of Power.
Hell yeah, dude. I've just been so jonesing to talk about anything Tolkien, bro. I'm just one of those people. I just constantly am watching people talking about the lore, rewatching the movies, reading the books. Excited. It's just like a yearly,
you have to.
People have the Minecraft phase every year or so.
Yeah, the 2-week Minecraft.
I have that with Lord of the Rings
phase, baby. Yep.
But there's so much of it. It's it takes way longer than 2 weeks to get through all of it.
Exactly.
So.
I mean, just before we went on, what were we talking about? We were talking about the Gollum movie coming out soon, or in a year or two. But we were talking about how hype we were at the Andy
Search for
Serkis.
Gollum.
Yeah, Andy Serkis is going to direct it, and looks like
he's going to direct it and be Gollum. So
some people are coming back too. I won't give out spoilers just in case people care about that.
Yeah, we won't talk spoilers here, but we'll definitely cover it when it comes out.
Definitely. I'm going to try and, maybe we'll come up there, you'll come down here, and we'll see it together.
Oh, that would be tight.
So
that would be so dope.
But I know that, you guys have already covered a lot of the episodes, but I thought that it would just be good for maybe me to go over a little bit of this, that I've got some notes jotted down for episodes 1 through 5, because I know that's what you and Sean covered. But I figured the listening audience might really like to hear maybe my perspective of episodes 1 through 5, just a Sparks Notes version, if you would.
Well, and it's for context, Swarlz hadn't watched until very recently any of season 2. So it's a lot more fresh, and I had watched through it with him. So it's fresh for me again too. So obviously at this point, I've already watched episode 6. I've watched all of season 2.
Mm-hmm.
So how the show will work is a little bit different. Where, at least for the second season, where I'm still gonna be kind of more looking into the lore and what the differences and the changes are, and bouncing off of what Swarlz thinks. But he's gonna still be able to guess what's going to happen, what he thinks is going to happen. And,
I will definitely be able to guess. Jason's not going to give any of it away at all.
I'll try not to. I'm not really known to spoil things.
No, you're not. It's mainly me. Sorry, Fabio.
Unlucky. Speaking of Fabio, we'll definitely try and have him on again this season to talk about the music.
For certain. I can't, dude. Bear has killed this season.
Yeah, we literally we can just kind of get into it, but when we were watching episode 6, see Arondir on screen for even just a few seconds, and his theme is playing, and it's man, this theme is
sad. So good. It makes me sad.
What could have been?
What could have
if the
been?
Actress didn't have to step away.
I don't know what hhappened, and I respect her for having to step away, but it just makes me so sad. So sad.
Yeah. Well, and it's such a tragedy because, that entire character is just
everything's flipped on its head.
In Well, and it's due to weird people, he's surrounded with criticism, whether it's he's not canon, so I don't care,
really?
or his actor's black, so I don't care. There's just a lot of weirdness.
Yeah,
but he's just such a well-written character.
Agreed.
And acted really well.
I mean, literally one of my notes is Arondir is my favorite character.
Yeah, he's one of my favorites for sure.
I see anytime he's on screen, I'm immediately just right there, paying full attention, making certain I am, giving it my all to make certain I absorb everything I see. But just because I don't know, it's just something about his character that speaks to me. hopeless romantic in me, maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
So, but nah, dude.
Bears, so why don't you let the listeners know?
Yeah. So
what you're thinking, maybe episode by episode.
I'm gonna try and keep this brief because we do want to talk about episode 6 in this episode. But I do have like 4 pages of notes just for episodes 1 and 2, 3, 4, something like that. So I have quite a bit of notes. I'll try and keep this. If I seem like I'm rambling, stop me and we'll go from there. But first and foremost, episode 1, we start off hot, and I love it because we start off with Adar and his backstory. We get to see the crowning, or the so-called crowning, of Sauron as the new Dark Lord. And we're like, oh no, what's going on here? You know, this doesn't look good. But you could see that the orcs and the Uruks, or whatever you want to call them, just are looking like they don't want to do anything. One dude tries to stab him before Adar stabs him with the crown. I mean, they don't want this guy to become their ruler. And then Charlie Vickers is obviously a goat and gets stabbed a lot of times and just, wears it like nobody's business. But I thought that was crazy that it was like a nice grassy area and everything was nice and pristine there at that castle, and then whenever he got stabbed, he shoots off a beam, does a spell of some sort, and now it's just forbidden winter there. That was crazy.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. Like that place is important in the lore.
Yeah.
It's like where like the Witch King and stuff like kind of.
Oh, is that where they are at?
Makes up shop in. Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Later. But it's actually not Charlie Vickers in that scene.
Oh,
it's Jack Lowden.
Oh, yeah. You're right. Who
plays Sauron in his first carnation.
Yeah. You're right. Because I remember looking at it, I was like, that's not. Yeah, I have that written down.
I remember being very confused at first, like, oh, this is weird. Oh, okay, it is Sauron. Okay.
But I have that written down because Charlie Vickers is the GOAT, because Halbrand's back, and he's going to Eregion. But before that, I have it written down here. All of this happened because of a ding-dang rat. If that rat didn't go next to the black sludge, then none of this happens. Now, granted, I know that this is not necessarily like lore and everything like that. Like, this is Prime's adaptation of what's happening in the Lord of the Rings, right? So I'm gonna be honest. I like storytelling, so this storytelling is really good to me. And so I love it.
Right, yeah.
So the one thing I will admit is symbiote Sauron is freaking horrifying. Yeah. I hated that.
No, I agree.
I hated that with all my heart. And I do want to know what that lady was drinking though. Whenever Sauron got her. What was in that flask?
But it was definitely something like really hard.
But. I thought that scene was shot really well. I'd like to see some behind the scenes on it, obviously. I mean, what all they had to do just to get that going.
Yeah. I remember the thing that struck me the most about that first part was, when he's like lurching out of the cave and stuff. You kind of feel this like scale. Mm-hmm. It kind of reminds me of at the beginning of the third movie.
Smeagol.
Return of the King, with Gollum and Smeagol and like
that's what I have written.
Climbing in. It's a very, I remember feeling like a very similar type of way to the intro of Return of the King, where it's like
we even forgot our own desolate names. Places. Like that scene where he falls out of falls out of the cave and starts rolling down the hill. It's all like snowy there, but I was like, dude, that looks exactly like what they have with like where Smeagol Gollum is like, we forgot our own names. Like all that literally looked exactly, shot for shot.
Yeah, I wonder if they were like wanting to evoke that, or if it's ended
possible.
Up happening by coincidence.
If it was coincidence, that's crazy. But so we find out, how Halbrand became Halbrand, and then obviously it had to go to the elves, and so we go and we see Elrond is running away from Galadriel. I like his thought here of like the rings are bad because of, he doesn't actually know, because at this point, does he know it's Sauron, or does he just have a hunch it's Sauron? I can't remember, because I just remember that they forbid from speaking to Halbrand is what Galadriel said. I can't remember.
So exactly. Galadriel knows at this point that Halbrand is Sauron, but nobody else does. Because she won't tell them.
Exactly.
Just saying, oh, we shouldn't treat with him. And then I believe I'm like trying to click through to remember. I believe she confesses something to the king, yes, and Elrond.
Yeah, but I think
she does.
But I think Elrond is running with the rings before that, isn't he? To the king. Actually, it's to the king because he takes the rings to the king. That's where it is. And then I don't know. Elrond's story is so interesting to me. I really want to see what they do with this character, just because I felt like he's not the Elrond we know from the movies yet. Because at this point, does he have Farsight?
It's the idea that both of them have foresight is typically heavily connected to the fact that they're both ring bearers, right?
Okay.
Like she has Nenya, and then he has the blue ring in the movie.
Yeah, Círdan has the red ring, right?
Círdan. Yeah. Círdan ends up giving Elrond the blue ring later.
The blue ring, okay.
But yeah, like this entire thing where like Elrond is against using it is something made up for the show.
Definitely, yeah.
But I think it does like track and it makes sense logically, because you don't really see too much about like what they think about the rings other than that like they were tricked into making them.
Yeah.
And then once the One Ring was made, they all feel like this force that's trying to dominate them. So they're like, oh, we need to take these off immediately.
Yeah. So once that ring comes into be, then they stop wearing them. Whereas obviously we see with like the dwarves and everything, they're just really greedy. But
yeah.
what was I gonna do? The next thing that I was gonna, because we after like the elves stuff goes on, this episode it flashes to Adar as Halbrand in chains, because Halbrand tries to get Adar to take his side so they can march on Eregion, and says that the elves have sided with Sauron to make rings and all that fun stuff. But my favorite part here is Waldreg dying to the warg. W. Thank God, W. That's the only thing I really have written down for that scene, but it is just thank God we don't have to deal with him anymore, because that man made me mad.
Yeah, it's so creepy.
I'm gonna be
especially honest, because he felt like such a huge character in season 1, because he was like major part of the marketing in season 1. Well, because of the like, have you heard the name Sauron?
Oh,
like
yeah. That makes sense. That makes sense.
Scene was used a lot in the marketing.
Yeah. But I will have to say the storyline that I am actually somewhat interested in, and I bet you a lot of people are more interested in like the ring making side of things, whereas I'm just like, what's going on with Poppy, Gandalf, and Nori? I'm actually kind of hooked on that storyline a little bit because of, I don't know why, but it's just like everything there. I really want to see how, I'm guessing it's not a spoiler at this point. We pretty much know it's Gandalf, right? That's not necessarily, would you say?
I mean, it's like at this point, it's like
heavily hinted.
Pretty hinted.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, like, I don't know, like, I just feel like I want to see him come into like his own, like how did I want to see his becoming, we don't really know much about, the Gray Wizard and then the White Wizard. We just kind of know them as like, as I feel like my grandfather in a way, like it's just like that jolly old man that, comes by every once in a while, especially then it does prove why he would like, as they call them, halflings here, but as we will, hobbits. So, but I do think it's interesting too, because they did talk about the Sazuk or something like that, where Sadik, his like kin, went off to find basically, like their place of being, which ends up to me talking like the Shire. So it's like interesting to me, like those types of things are so interesting.
I thought that was pretty. That was pretty like smart, like good storytelling with these aren't exactly hobbits.
Exactly,
they're like the descendants, they're like the ancestors.
Yeah, they're called Stores, or was it Stores or Stowers?
stores, like STOORS.
Yeah. So, but and then obviously Tom Bombadil's kind of a cool one, but we'll get into that whenever we get to episode 4. But that story is really interesting to me, and I am obsessed with the Numenor story, which I don't know if Numenor's really talked about at all this much. Really, they don't get to Numenor at all, really, in episode 1, do they?
No, I don't think so.
That's crazy to me. If I wasn't totally obsessed with this, like, you know, with other storylines, that probably would have driven me nuts if I didn't know it. Because I just got to go. Did these come out at the same time, or did these come out weekly?
I believe the first 3 came out together, and then it was weekly.
Okay, that would have sated me a little bit then. But
yeah, because that was when Sean came and we watched them live.
Oh
on
yeah,
stream.
you watched all of them. Yeah.
Well, actually, no, it wasn't even on stream because they had between season 1 and season 2 coming out, they had gotten rid of the watch together stuff on Twitch.
Unfortunate. So, that's such a dumb thing to get rid of too.
Yeah, we just watched it together.
You heard
Discord.
me, big Twitch. At the end of the episode, is this where does he get to you called him Círdan?
Círdan, the shipwright.
Yeah, so Círdan is at the end of episode 1, I believe, right, where he kind of like sees the good of the rings. Episode 1, 10 out of 10. The only thing that you could have added to make it 11 out of 10 is more Numenor. But I do like the starting of episode 2, because episode 2 we finally get to see like what's happening with other parts of Middle Earth, because Khazad-dûm has all of its light tunnels taken away from it, or at least most of them. I think there was like one left, because I remember there was one left at least, and then Disa and the singers sang, and the last one came crumbling down.
Yeah.
So
no, it was. I think it was really good to kind of like remind everybody, like the Mount Doom blowing up doesn't just like cook all of the Southlands. Like it affected
so much more
Khazad-dûm as well.
Yeah, and I mean Khazad-dûm's like relatively far away from it too, but still they felt that earthquake, of course. But
well, it's just like logical. I really like that type of.
I do too, and I like
like that makes sense. Like that's cool. That's a good idea.
I know it's season 1, but I really like the way that they said Mordor came to be as well. Like that was interesting. Like a bunch of water going into the volcano, setting it off. Like scientifically, that would work.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't just like some magical thing. It was actually like possibly planned. That is interesting.
Yeah. Well, in the lore, it's like not really known whether or not Mordor had the name before, because like basically like the idea is, in the actual lore, the volcano was created by Melkor or Morgoth, right? Like you could see it in like a couple of different ways, right? Because it's like that area is so green and everything, and if back in the day when Morgoth was in power, if that volcano was active, and then it stopped being active, then that area would become green again, right?
Yeah.
And then now there's another dark power here. It like they activate it again. Like you could see it either way, right? Where it's like maybe they call it Mordor before, because they just kind of had like an inkling that it was gonna have this like dark power there, or that because it had like the Southlands name is made up for the show, but we don't know when Mordor got its name or not. So it's a clever way to like get around and like fill in the blanks of the lore in a creative way.
I do like it. I do think they kind of hit the nail in the coffin, at least for me personally. The other thing that I thought was really interesting too about this episode is Galadriel's at her brother's tree grave, and she's planting seeds, and I was like, wait, are they like about to go to war? Because that's like what Arondir did last time, and what Adar obviously does as well. And so it was really intriguing to me to see that, but it was just a bad dream, which to me does that mean that Sauron still has like control of her mind? Because obviously she sees Celebrimbor get taken up into the tree and die, and is that still mind games from Sauron, or is that just a bad dream?
I mean, I would assume it's foresight, because like the One Ring hasn't been made at this point, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like you could argue that like he has a hold on her brain still, right?
Yeah.
It's like hard to know based on like timelines and stuff, right?
Because like we're bouncing back and forth between the ring.
Yeah, you don't know exactly at what point. Like, oh, maybe this thing that happened later in the show happened at the exact same time as a previous thing, but it's hard to really know.
I will have to say that's the one thing that's like hard to wrap my mind around is like, is Celebrimbor and Anatar making the rings at the same time that, you know, XYZ is going on, or is it, you know, behind, before, whatever? That's like the only thing that's like been like hard for me to wrap my brain around.
It becomes a little bit more obvious in these the next couple episodes because more of the storylines interweave together.
Yeah.
And so you don't have as much of that.
Yeah.
What I'll say is I would assume that this is just like a premonition that she has because of Nenya.
Okay.
And like she's still like learning to deduce what's going on, and she knows
something's
up, and that Celebrimbor's in danger,
which is why they're trying to get that party to go. Okay.
Yeah, and she feels guilt that like she know like with the whole like scene from season 1 where he's like, what do you think they're gonna do when they know that once they find out that Sauron lives because of you?
True.
Kind of thing. So she has that like internalized guilt.
Exactly. And that's like something that's interesting because I want to see the psyche of Galadriel. Like you kind of see her psyche change a little bit here in the second season, which is interesting to me. It's not gone from like, you know, Sauron must die and I'm going to do anything. It's now she's kind of like trying to play chess after, you know, the fact. She's trying to, you know, wriggle around and try and figure out her way. And so it's interesting to see that come about. So the your favorite character comes back, Jay. Slim Shady's back.
Yeah.
I thought that was an interesting plot twist. I was like, okay, they can summon people out of moths. That's interesting. But so Slim Shady's back, and they're trying to find names for the Wanderer, and they kind of say a lot of names that made me laugh a little bit, you know. I liked that because it's like, I didn't say that name. It's like, you already said it. No, I didn't. But they're just all going crazy.
Yeah.
Then they go back to Khazad-dûm, which I like this part because this is where obviously I don't like it because, you know, she makes the tunnel collapse, but I like it because we do see that King Durin does miss his son. So like, you know, Disa is like, well, if you miss your grandchildren, it's like, don't make this harder. How is he doing? You know, stuff like that.
Right.
And like Disa then talks to Durin and, you know, she wants him to apologize. You know, you need to go apologize. And he's like, I did nothing wrong. I'm not going to do anything of the sort. And this line right here, I wrote it down specifically because it was hilarious to me. And Durin says, you're giving me indigestion. And she says, good, listen to your gut. Go apologize. It might not be what you think is like, you might think you're in the right, but he's still your dad. Go apologize, make things right, and we'll be back and everything will be good. So I thought that was interesting writing, and I really like that. So the other thing was Elrond does go back. This is episode 2 is where Galadriel comes to talk to Elrond, but pretty much Galadriel, she wants to go confront what's going on in Rhegion, and you know, she pretty much, as you kind of said, is foresight. She thinks that Celebrimbor is in danger from Sauron, but he's asking her, "Are you certain these rings aren't controlling you? Are you not being plucked? But you know, being plucked like a string perfectly?" And Elrond just rejects everything that he sees and just attributes it to Sauron. And goes back and he's like, if you're my friend, you will leave, basically is what's happening, you know. And I think that's just like, you know, it's hard writing, and it's just interesting to see this side of Elrond, and I want to see how he grows, which obviously we do see that in a little bit here, but I want to see how does he become the next version of himself almost, you know. And so obviously he goes and sits down with Círdan. And he speaks differently, and they talk about their friendship, and that it's not for the faint of heart for the rings, but Sauron doesn't control them. Don't abandon your friends, and just make certain that you don't abandon them in this time. Make certain that you are there to guide them, which I thought was interesting, because it's like, you don't have to use this ring, but you can also be there for your friend that's going through a hard time and help them through this and actually make this thing a good thing, even if you think it's a bad thing. Which that's so interesting to me, because it's like, you know, obviously we know he ends up getting a ring, so it's interesting to see him progress through this, you know? So I really want to see more of this writing.
I think Elrond will get more screen time in the next season. And you'll be able, like, he I'm not saying like, oh, he's not really in he's in the next episodes that you haven't seen, but yeah. I think percentage-wise as to how much screen time he's had in the second season, I would assume he would have more in the third season. Unless, because, like, basically, Galadriel doesn't really do any of the stuff that she's done in season 1.
Yeah.
In the books.
Yeah.
And literally all she does is, like an advisor. Like, she's just an old, wise elf.
Okay.
And then she ends up marrying...
Yeah.
And ruling in Lothlorien.
Yeah, Lothlorien, and that's where she
and then she gets a ring of power, and then and then, like, you know, like there are things that they do where, like, you know, they like Lothlorien does get attacked in the War of the Ring and stuff, and you know, like, I'm sure they also sent armies to.
I mean, we actually see Elrond fighting in the first movie. Do we see Galadriel fighting?
No, and like that's the thing that's like different, right? It's like she normally wouldn't be like a fighter in that, right?
Okay.
Which I think it's like, you know, you see like non-women elves like be like in I'm pretty certain, at least in the movies, they're like women elves that fight.
Yeah.
It's like hard to know, like, because it's like whether or not, because there's like stunt doubles and stuff, and like, you know, people who are in line, because it's like when you're a casting director for The Lord of the Rings and you're in New Zealand and you only have just the population of New Zealand to cast for these elves.
I mean, that's why you see like your boy so many times as an orc.
They're like tall, slender models, basically, right?
Yep.
And like, so I'm sure there was times where it's like, it's hard to know whether or not this elf is a female or if they're just played by a female, right?
Yeah.
So like, there's tons of orcs that were played by women, like stunt doubles and stuff that were like men orcs in the movies. So it's like, it's hard to know, but yeah, a lot of the actions that Galadriel like is taking and advising and stuff is like basically in the books. Elrond is like the one who's like spearheading the fight against Sauron in this time period.
They've kind of like flipped it a little bit, and they've made it more.
I think they've more like kind of like split it. Like it's like between the two of them.
Okay.
Because like, kind of how I'm assuming it's gonna be.
It's interesting because it's like if they would have done, if she would have actually gone back to, oh gosh, I'm gonna forget the place. Like in the first season when she's on the ship, if she would have actually go back to Valinor. Then it would have been his, you know, Elrond would have had the full shouldering of this. So it's kind of interesting to see, like, you know, everything kind of like come to be and everything starting to shift and everything. And I think you're right. I think that it'll be a split between the two. Now that you say it, that makes a lot of sense. And I'm, I guess, more intrigued. I want to see what else happens.
Well, and the other part that's like kind of interesting about it is they have this angle in the show where he's like not considered a lord.
Yeah,
right?
True.
Which is not really a thing in the books because like his father is like a mythical hero level character that had stolen, like he had like one of the Silmarils and like it like is riding it in the sky, like on a floating boat.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And like literally just ascends to heaven. Like he doesn't actually die. Like he just ascends to heaven. He's like Enoch. Flying on this boat, basically, right? Like
that's interesting.
So like for that guy's son to not be a lord is like kind of laughable, right? Like,
True. I mean, they kind of like almost speak down to him too a lot, you know, like because he's not actually an elf until after. Like, didn't he like he had a brother? One chose to say like a Númenórean, and one chose to become he chose to become an elf, right? Is the lore that they're painting, at least in Ring of Power.
Yeah. Like they basically both had to choose like whether or not like to have immortal life and be an elf, or to be a human.
Yeah.
With like long life. But,
long life, yeah. But so back to episode 2. Poppy, Nori, and the Wanderer, Gandalf, they're wandering and they need water. They find it, but they ring that bell a couple times because of the water, and the hunters find them. The Wanderer picks up a staff and conjures up a Sandnado, and now they are all separated. Womp womp.
They're all dead.
Yeah, true. They dead. They all are gone. Well, it did kill 2 of what was that guy's name? Brank, I think is his name, or something like that. It killed 2 of his men, so I just remember him going back to the Dark Wizard saying, "Kill 2 of my men."
Yeah. Brank.
So this is the episode where Sauron, Halbrand, whatever you want to call, reveals himself as Anatar. So he kind of works his little, magic and, gets inside Celebrimbor's head, which Celebrimbor is such an interesting character because I feel like he's a good guy. He's just obviously getting taken advantage hardcore right here. He wants to do something that's like worth the craft of a Cimmeril, and he's just getting taken advantage for it. So I don't know, what are your thoughts on Celebrimbor?
I think Celebrimbor is really dope. Really, like, it's like obvious, like, because the main thing that happened as far as like elven craft, like it all makes sense, right? Like it's not something that's like explicitly really talked about, but it's something that you could easily draw, like, oh, he's an elven smith. He would obviously look up to the best elven smith of all time, Feanor. Yeah. And so, like, oh, he wants to be like Feanor, and like Sauron would like
use that.
Sauron would know everything about that, and would probably already know who Celebrimbor is and all this stuff, and be able to really easily manipulate him. And it's a really cool line that is in episode 6 where Adar is saying, like, he doesn't just see like who you are, he sees what you want to become and what you can become, and so therefore twist it. Right.
Yep. I have that written down specifically because I think he goes on and says it's not his lies that need to be put down, it's him.
Yeah,
it's so intriguing. I do think that it's interesting because he says he asks Celebrimbor, it's like, are we friends? He doesn't want to lie to a friend, but in saying that, he's lying to a friend. Because it's like, he's not telling him who he is. But saying that, King Gil-galad and Galadriel want him dead, basically, because they don't know who he is. It's just very cunning, very cunning. Episode 3, I lied, guys. I'm sorry, I did lie to you. My favorite character is finally back. And you guys are probably thinking to yourself, really, Swarlz? You like a seal this much? Guys, get your heads out of the gutter. Beric is back. Beric is back. My boy Beric.
The best horse.
He's back, and he found a seal. He's the one that saves everybody, because as we all know from the first movie, if it wasn't for Beric, we would all be dead.
Isildur would not have cut the ring from Sauron's hand.
Truthfully. But I do want to know, is spiders, why do they always have to pick spiders, my friend? Like, why?
Yeah.
It's always spiders.
I think it was really well done.
Oh, dude, it's great. We finally get some more Numenor stuff, obviously, because this is kind of a Numenor heavy episode, it seems like. I always forget the sister's name. It's like Eärien.
Eärien.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so she obviously hates Muriel now. She blames him for Isildur's death, quote unquote death. We know he's not dead, but it's crazy to me because, we get back to Numenor and we see Muriel still acting as queen. And she's like, obviously they're mourning the loss of her dad, but also, someone else comes into that mourning area and slaps her. And instead of getting onto her, she's like, who did you lose? And they're like, my son. And obviously it's just like such a touching thing because, everybody deals with grief a different way. And obviously this person thought that they needed to go off and slap someone for it. But in reality, it really wasn't like, there's nothing, it was out of their control. They had to do what they had to do. And it's a sad thing, but I'm glad that Muriel didn't overreact in this scene. I really like the all the interesting things that they done with the Numenor. I will have to say I do hate Farazan, but I think that's just good writing at this point. You know, like you're supposed to hate him. You're supposed to hate him, and you're supposed to especially hate Kemen. You know, I don't know if that's lore. But
I like that you're supposed to hate Kemen. I'm not as big of a fan as like how much it feels like they turn, especially by the end of the show, like, or like even just like episode 6 that we've already seen, like he just kind of outright seems evil at a certain point, right? Where, you know,
who, Kemen or Farazan?
When he looks into Farazan,
okay.
When he like is like looking into the Palantir and he's like tweaking and shit, right?
True.
He just outwardly seems evil, whereas like really Farazan is like, and I think it's like it's hard, and it's like a little bit of a shame where it's like the watching season 1 and season 2, it feels so far disconnected just due to the amount of time between them, right? Whereas like if you think about how Farazan is in the first season, he is truly like this kingly guy that like is leading the people and is, you know, trying to be like we need to put Numenor
and
first, its people first, and not care about these elves and not care about these other people.
I mean,
like
it's just almost like at this point, I'm gonna be honest, he almost racist against the elves, and I want to know, is there a
he hates the elves.
Is there a reason before this? Like, I actually have this in my notes. Is there like a reason that he hates them so much? They don't really go over it.
Yeah, so basically like Farazan and like Numenorians already live for like a really long time, right?
Yeah.
Like, for example, like Aragorn in the Lord of the Rings is like 87 years old.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, whenever he becomes a part of the group, right?
Yeah. Like 80 is like mid-age for them. At least at the point of Aragorn, like the Numenorians could live even longer.
Yeah.
And so, because it's kind of like the idea that like their bloodline like kind of weakens over time, like they kind of lose the blessing of long life. Farazan hates the elves and stuff because they are immortal and men are not.
Oh, okay.
And it's something that they'll definitely go more into because that's very core to his character. But that is the reason why he hates the elves. And I'm sure there's like they'll probably come up with some other reason as to why they've like been betrayed by elves or something. Because it's very like there's like the two camps in Numenor where there's the faithful who like, you know, still speak in like Quenya, which is like a elvish
dialect
tongue, and like they believe in, you know, the Valar and stuff like that, whereas then there's the kind of more like nationalistic Farazan side.
They want the Numenorian first. It's like either the past views or Numenorian first views is kind of like the way that I've seen it. No,
so
it's interesting.
I think I wish that like Farazan was more like I hope that, because it doesn't really like even when he's like walking up to the eagle and stuff, he doesn't seem like he's like super plotting as to like take over. He's kind of just going with the flow almost, it feels like. But then by the time he's like looking in the Palantir and like he's like throwing the queen into the sea and stuff,
at that
point he definitely seems a lot less like a man of the people and more so like
he looks like he's out for power.
I wish there would have been a bit more scenes of like, you know, and it does feel just a little bit synced because it's been so long since these episodes came out, but like it's genuinely like tons of people just died, lost their sons, lost their fathers, their brothers, and the queen has come back with nothing gained, only things lost, and now she's blind and is like supposed to be leading. So like, of course, like logically he would think, I should just take over. Like, we need to keep Numenor strong. We need to not help these elves. Like these type of things, like they could make it. And I think the problem is that I think that the writers thought that people would side with him way more, and they were like against that.
Maybe.
Whereas I feel like if they would have leaned into like people really liking this Farazan character, like more so, obviously like he's a bad guy at this point, right? Like he's just gonna be a bad guy, right? Like they've written him so obviously as a bad guy, he's gonna become a bad guy, guys. Like even more, right? So like. Yeah. I think if they would have made him more likable in these first several seasons, it would have been more impactful for him to be evil, you know. Whereas at this point, it definitely just feels like, and there's like the guy who is like his right hand man with like according to the law, you know, like he definitely seems to be pushing more so for like take the power and stuff. But I wish we'd get more of his thoughts rather than him just
constantly going off and really just hungering for power. Because I mean, even that,
and then
because like they had
he's kind of just like aloof in a way.
Well, they had like the other bit of in one of the episodes I watched today. Maybe it was like episode 5 or 4, where he actually has the scepter, and it's like, "Yo, you got the scepter. You know what's the matter?" And he's like, "Well, I thought all this would cease whenever I got the scepter, but it's still not enough." It's almost like what it seemed like to me when they wrote the way they wrote that.
Yeah.
So,
well, it just seems like such a like short amount of time for him to be like, yeah, I'm not fulfilled. Like he definitely would have been fulfilled for a little bit. Like,
exactly.
Come on now.
Exactly.
I don't know why there's like a rush for him to feel unfulfilled when it's like this stuff is not going to come to a head in like season 3, not even like really season 4 in my opinion. Like
probably not. No, I mean, I say that now. I haven't even watched the rest of this season. Aodian is becoming one of my least favorite characters as well. But I think that's writing.
I agree.
That's just writing. I mean, they're.
I think part of it's the writing. I was literally talking with Fabio about this when we were rewatching the 6th episode most recently, because you were deafened.
Oh yeah.
And so, you know, Fabio has already seen all of season 2, and I remember just being like, I don't know, like at the very beginning, because we had watched the 6th episode for the first time a couple of weeks ago.
Yep.
And then we were just rewatching it the other day, and the first time rewatching it, I was like, why do I not like this scene? Like, why is this scene bad to me? At least specifically from the Aarian standpoint, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then when we rewatched it when you were deafened, I was really trying to dissect it in my head where, okay, like, is it the writing? No, the writing seems fine. It really is just, I don't know. It's one of two things. It's either her acting in general, or it's, as far as like from like a being able to display grief and being torn, she really seems like she doesn't give a shit about her dad, right?
Yeah, that's like terrible to me. That's what it seems like. It's like she's like almost like, no, I want you to live, but also if you're gonna be by the old ways, then die. You know, it's like you kind of two-faced.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's her acting or if it's just the specific take that they chose to use, right?
Maybe.
Like the specific take they chose to use just made her look bad or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. Or if they had to, because there is one grain of sand that like I'm sure we talked about it when it was me and Sean, but this show was slightly rushed because it had to be, or this season, because of the writer and actor strike that was happening in Hollywood at the time.
Yeah.
So they were like, we finished, we're able, like it won't be affected by the strikes, but like because of that, it has way less time to like cook.
True.
If that makes sense,
yeah,
right?
It didn't
like,
have time to like go over everything.
Yeah, like I think they weren't able to really sit down and be like, we're missing this shot, we're missing this kind of thing. Oh, this isn't really working. So like, and then they're just like really not able to do it because of the strikes that were happening, right? Yeah. Like the pickups and the reshoots and stuff were probably not as good or existing at all,
exactly,
compared to what it would normally be because of it. So I definitely agree with the Aarian take. She just kind of seems illogical in a way too.
She's kind of a rat,
and they don't. Yeah, she's siding with this guy who is, it's not even like he's really,
it's like, or he's crushing on her or she's crushing on him, one of the two. Like
he's crushing on her for sure,
certain,
and he literally kills Volando because of it, right?
Yeah.
Like if they showed her like more power that she was getting, it kind of just seems like she's just confused.
Yeah,
but they don't really spell it out that she's confused, really. And
it's like she hasn't processed Asil's death right. Perfect, you know?
Yeah,
it's like
the context that I feel like they miss is, at least they miss in bringing up in this short amount of time. Like this is her family, right? Like her mother died when she was young.
Yep.
And then her older brother is like estranged and is like in the north of the island.
Yep.
And then her dad and her father leave to go to war. Her brother, she thinks, is dead.
Yep.
And then now the dad won't, like, in her eyes, properly mourn him.
Yeah.
And is just blindly following this lady.
Yeah.
Where it's like she also like won't properly mourn him because she's pissed off at her dad for not properly mourning. So it's like,
yeah.
But if you just watch the scene in episode 6 where she's trying to get her dad to just be
where like, she's talking in the jail cell, right?
Yeah, in the jail cell. If you just stare at her the entire time, like don't even look at Elendil or the queen, she just doesn't feel like a believable character in the scene.
Yeah.
Or like she just at least feels like an illogical character or just like a stupid character. So like that was definitely one of the like major nitpicks that I had about episode 6 on like the rewatch.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah. Episode 3 is where we're at, or at least where I'm at. And if we want to, we can move on to 6. I don't care.
I guess give more so just like some specific highlights.
Yeah,
of,
specific
like,
highlights
you really didn't like or really didn't for the.
I loved.
We could talk about 6.
Yeah. I loved the eagle at the coronation. Specifically because that's supposed to be like, you know, one of the like signs of the past. And when Muriel was talking to Farazan, they're cousins, right? Yeah. So whenever she was talking to Farazan, you know, red is for Numenorian's future, white is for the past, and she chose white. Obviously, he chose red. Shocker. I thought that was really interesting, and the way that they used the Palantir against them is so interesting to me, which I will get into even with it in like episode 6. But it's so interesting calling it like an elf stone and everything like that, and how they get basically they are able to warp everybody's thinking just with that one little tiny stone. And obviously Elendil sees some of his future, or a future that he could see, and the queen sees that. She's like, okay, well, if that's the case, then that means that Farazan needs to be in charge, which I don't necessarily agree with, because she's just like, it changed the future and it's not a flood anymore. That's perfect. And so it's so interesting to me, but I don't necessarily like that thought process to it, but it is, you know, it's there. Estrid comes into play, which, you know, Seal, honestly, truthfully, he's always getting cucked, it seems like.
Oh, yeah.
Bronwyn is being buried once Seal comes into town. Super sad. Sorry, Egg. Theo kind of regressed a little bit, obviously. I think that's like, you know, a smart play though, because his mom just died. So I think that's kind of like, you know, he was starting to show like, oh yeah, we're a happy family, and like now he's like, you know, Rondir, you're not my dad. So by the end of it, whenever he rescues him from the Ents, I think that's better, you know, like we're starting to see more growth and everything there. I liked that scene.
Yeah, he definitely feels very homeless, and I don't remember. I was going to re-listen to our last episode just to remember like what me and Sean had actually said, but it definitely feels a little bit tragic that like the entire Southland story is just like super homeless, like between Arondir, what's her name who died?
Bronwyn.
Bronwyn, yeah. You know, Bronwyn not being in the story at all, just ripped from it basically, and then like not really knowing where the story is gonna go for basically the two of them, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's like you don't know exactly what's gonna happen with it. It does seem kind of like they rushed it a little bit, maybe because they had to, because you know, when someone just doesn't re-sign with you, this is my biggest nitpick. Why couldn't they recast?
Yeah, I feel like they should have just recast her.
But actually, you want to know what it probably was? It was probably that strike.
Oh yeah,
that probably is what. Yeah, the combination of the two probably just pushed it over the edge to where they couldn't recast, and they had to just write her out.
Yeah. Well, and then also like people were just like so negative about.
Yeah, they were negative about the characters in general.
Well, yeah, because they're like, well, the man in or the woman in an elf is like.
Yeah. People are cringe.
it makes Aragorn and like it makes them matter less, and it's like not necessarily like there's like clearly like cyclical things in a lot of these different types of media. Like it's totally fine in my opinion, as long as it doesn't feel cheap, and I don't really think it felt cheap. Like you could argue that like in the Hobbit movies, like the dwarf elf thing felt kind of cheap in my opinion. Like it felt very unfounded. Yeah. It's just kind of love at first sight kind of thing. Whereas with the idea with Arondir and Bronwyn is that he literally from when she was born had been like she's known him the entire time because he has just been watching over the men of this town the entire time because he's immortal, right? Yeah. So like at least the idea that they would like slowly build a relationship would make sense and not feel cheap.
True. Yeah. I mean, that, like I said, that was one of my favorite ones, so it's really sad to see it go, but I'm still intrigued with the story there a little bit. You know, Rondir is still one of my favorite characters. The other thing I was going to ask...
I have no idea what they're going to do with him.
I don't know, dude, but Galadriel gets a demotion, possibly? Because she was the commander of the North Armies, but then whenever she sets out with Elrond, is it just for this mission that she's the first lieutenant?
Yeah, because the person leading the armies is Elrond, right? Or like,
well, he's leading
they're like,
yeah, they're going squad. To a Region. So is that just for this single mission, you think?
It's like for scouting. I would also like assume that like, as far as for anything concerning Sauron,
yeah,
that they would be very hesitant to let her do anything because she had already had him in her mind, you know? Like she basically just seems mentally unstable specifically against him.
Yeah, what was I going to say? The Ints were cool. I really enjoyed seeing the Ints.
Yeah.
Tom Bombadil. I'm intrigued by Tom Bombadil. I know some people probably are like, meh, Tom Bombadil. And then other people are like, well, they didn't use him in the movie, so they had to use him in the show, you know.
I personally hate this version of Tom Bombadil.
Really?
I'll get into it later.
Interesting. Yeah. Borrowaits. Those things were sick. How they fought with, you know, it's like people's tombs, and so you had to kill them with their own weapons. Those kind of sick.
It's like one of the few things that like wasn't used in the original movies.
Yeah.
Because like Frodo and Sam run into those in the books, and Tom Bombadil saves.
Oh, so that's when that's interesting that they're both in the same episode here.
One thing that I do want to say, and that like is really, I'm really reminded in specifically episode 4.
Go for it.
Is, dude, the orcs in the show are so good.
Oh yeah.
We talked about it before, just watching, like, you know, in the original trilogy, they were all prosthetic basically. There was like, you know, certain characters that might get like touched up by some effects here and there, like Mouth of Sauron and stuff, but basically everything else was like, you know, just full makeup and prosthetics. And then in the Hobbit trilogy, you have just full CGI. There's like basically no prosthetics for any of the orcs. In this, they do a super great job of going back to makeup and prosthetics, but then with a little bit of the
CGI.
CGI with it, yeah, like to really like add more to like, oh, like the wetness of their face, or like the blood, or like their eyes, like just different things like that, where it really adds to it. Like in the scene where the guy, they're shooting at the horse that's running, and then they accidentally hit the elf, and then the elf, like they start smelling his blood.
Yep. Because
of it. And like they're gonna find him, and then the healing power of the ring and stuff, and they do such a good job of making the orcs feel like such a huge threat in this show. Between season 1, where they're like, you know, digging under the cities and stuff, and basically killing entire cities and kidnapping them and stuff, and doing the same thing with the elves, and like they just genuinely seem like pretty smart, cunning, evil,
yeah,
like badass characters. So much more than like, you know, like compared to like a random orc in either of the other trilogies. Like they just get rinsed in. You know what I mean? Like
True.
Your average orc does not seem very threatening in those. So I really love how they have really made them a threat again.
Yeah, so the thing that I wanted to talk about that I thought was kind of interesting was the what was her name, Merdania, and when she put on the ring. That scene is so interesting to me because how Sauron, you know, she obviously sees Sauron, you know, there, and that's the figure she sees. It's so crazy how he's able to turn it and make it seem like, oh, I'm here to fix. You weren't supposed to see that. because I'm here to fix Celebrimbor. You know, like that's so interesting to me. I was just like, dang. Like you could tell that she was like unnerving, but just being around him. And then he turns it that way. Oh, dude, it was crazy. And then like obviously in episode 6, you know, Celebrimbor starts, you know, misplacing items and seeing crazier. So it's just so interesting to me. And that's where, you know, we also get, you know, Durin goes and talks to Celebrimbor at this time, asking, you know, like, why is his father going crazy? So it's like both of them are going crazy at the same time. It's so crazy. Sauron just uses all of these things just to be able to turn what people are saying against them almost. You know, it's like, what did you do to the rings while we were forging the rings for the dwarves? And he's like, it wasn't you, it was all of us. You know, like that's just so interesting of writing to me.
Yeah, the writing has been really, really good between the Celebrimbor and Sauron stuff.
Yeah. Do you like the way that they've adopted the Anatar?
Yeah. I think they've done a really good job so far. I think Charlie Vickers has really killed it. There's really only like one scene, like on like having rewatched several times, where it was in this part in episode 6 where he hears the siege engine or the bells.
Yeah.
And he's trying to check, and like the idea that he closes the window, like that makes sense. But then he's like, "Hey, stay in here." And then as he's leaving, he's yelling like, "If you leave this tower, I'll let everyone know that it was you who forsook them." Or like I can't remember exactly the line, but it's like, "Oh, that it'll be your fault." And like it really, that part specifically, except for just the idea that like, oh, because he's this evil guy, he's just prone to anger like that. You know what I mean? Like it's just like a completely, like it just comes out of him.
Yeah,
right.
It's just like something. Yeah, he
I could see it from there, but then he ends up just manipulating him anyways. So it's like that like explosion there. Like I don't know if it's just supposed to build tension there, but like that line specifically felt a little bit weird. If he was just gonna like control his mind like that, anyways, right?
True. The last thing I'll say about the other episodes before we get specifically into 6. Is the Palantir. Whenever Elendil touches it, he sees him riding away from the city, and they say if they must walk the way of the faithful, that starts with them basically. So I think that's interesting, and it kind of shows up especially in 6 with walking the way of the faithful with Muriel. Episode 6. So do we want to do like a rundown, or are we just going to kind of free ball it like we've been doing it, Jay?
I think we can continue to free ball it a little bit with this because we are already at an hour.
True.
Which I mean, I don't really care. We can do it.
It's, you know, again, we kind of just get a little bit more into how they make the rings, what, you know, all the things that's happening. And like I said, Celebrimbor is going crazy, and kind of like what you said, you kind of see like
he's really losing it.
Even Anatar, Sauron's starting to kind of get a little bit like, yo, why aren't the rings done? Like, come on, bro, get to work.
Yeah. When he like forgets Mardania's name, he doesn't know where the hammer is, but the hammer's there. But it's like pretty obvious that like with that specific thing, like Sauron was hiding it from him. At least that's how I see it. It's right. It's like all these small things over and over making him like slowly lose his mind, slowly lose his grasp as he's worming into his mind, basically.
Yeah. And we kind of see like a little bit of the cracks showing on the wall too for Sauron, because Adar's at his doorstep, and you know a body washes up, and he's like bury the body, just don't even bury it, you know, like get it away,
let nobody see this,
let nobody see it. And it's like what is carved in to the body? Mardania asks, and he says, where is he? Is interesting. So it's like, you know, some people, it's like, honestly, I'd be asking questions. How the heck do you know how to read that? But obviously they think he's a god, so.
Yeah.
I don't know how I feel about Galadriel just giving up all the information to Adar so easily. She is held captive, but she just like is willy-nilly with all the information. I will say it's cool. They still got the freaking helmet or the crown. That's pretty sick. That's their plan is to take the rings of power and the crown and kill Sauron with it. That's pretty intriguing, but I'm also curious too. Is the plan now to like forego the elves because he knows all this information and he's going to try and get the rings himself?
Yeah, I think that's the idea. Is that like he's just gonna kill everybody. I think that's his idea, because he asks her, okay, if we do that, then is your king gonna permit us to leave and return home, or is he gonna just still invade us and kill us, right?
Yeah.
So he's like, okay, well, because like from his perspective, right, if he waits for this elven army to show up, him sieging the city is now way harder, right? So if he sieges the city first, captures the city, captures Sauron, now they're there trying to siege the city to try and recapture it. Like, this is at least like the like logic, right? Then he can, now he knows who has the ring. He can now kill him, get the ring, and then just do it himself.
True.
And not have to worry about being invaded in Mordor, where like they don't have like anything set up there, right? Like they just have like holes in the ground, basically, right? Like there's no like Barad-dûr there, or like at this point, like the Black Gate doesn't even exist.
True.
Like a lot of the like Minas Ithil doesn't exist, which is the like green like place where the Witch King is in the movie, right? Yeah. Minas Morgul, like that place doesn't exist.
Yeah, none
Minas
of this
Tirith
place
doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Like those things are built by Isildur and his heirs and stuff, right?
Okay.
And because of that, like they don't have anything in Mordor to like defend a siege. So like Eregion would be like the perfect place for them to
like hold
basically
up.
Capture, right?
Yeah, interesting.
So that's his logic. So it makes sense, right?
That
like he's not just being like, he's not just being a dumbass to be like, he's not just being evil to be evil. Like it's a genuinely smart thing for him to do.
He's trying to protect his children.
That the elves just want to kill the orcs anyways, even if they're not being led by Sauron.
Yeah,
right?
I mean that's the thing. Is like he's like what did you want? You know, Sauron gives you anything you want. He's like, I wanted children, and she's like, I wanted power. You know, so it's like, you know, I wanted an army.
Yeah, she wanted an army.
Yeah, and so it's like so intriguing to see all these, like the way that, you know, Sauron obviously uses his mind tricks. Another thing that I thought was, you know, the sentencing of Elendil was really good. I literally was just like, you know, cinema to it, because he's like, do you denounce what you did is wrong? And it's like, yeah, sure, I it was wrong. And then it's like, but will you take Pharazôn and denounce the old ways, and Pharazôn is your new ruler? He's like, no, I will not. And the only traitor here is you. And I'm just like, bars. Pointing and walking straight at Pharazôn. I was like, heck yes. So his crimes obviously is for
continue to glaze.
Yeah, I will continue to glaze. Obviously they framed him for the crimes of, like, you know, inciting the panic and everything in that in like the water chamber way, right, where Elendil dies. That's like what his charges are, right? Yeah,
basically.
So I got to hear it. You said you're really not, you know, up to snuff with the Tom Bombadil stuff. So what's got your goat?
So personally, I just personally hate, like, and I don't remember how much I even said about this on the show previously. At this point, I'm just so done with the Harfoot story and the Gandalf story and Tom Bombadil. Like, anytime they're on screen, I'm not really into it personally. Like, I think it could be better, but like at the point that they're at, like they're leading up to this thing where, oh, like the stranger and them are they're gonna fight this other guy who like summoned Slim Shady, right? Like they're gonna fight this other wizard,
the Dark Wizard.
And Tom Bombadil is like, you know, Sauron is rising here. We already have a Dark Wizard here. Like we need to take care of this Dark Wizard, basically, is what he's saying, which is just like completely against everything Tom Bombadil basically stands for. Like in the War of the Ring, when Sauron is already like as strong as he ever gets, like ever, he doesn't care. He's just like tending to his land and, you know, like the animals that he loves and like Marigold, like all this stuff. Like he's just like chaotic good.
Yeah.
Like he is like unserious as a character, and then for him to just like bounce between being unserious and serious, like on some Yoda shit, is just like so weird to me.
Yeah. I can see
and
that.
Doesn't feel like how Tom Bombadil should be. I understand like why they're doing it, because it's like, oh, we need to figure out how does Gandalf go from like, or like the stranger, right? Like, how does he go from like not knowing anything to knowing things, right?
Yeah.
And like clearly Tom Bombadil is like quoting things that Gandalf says in the books, right? And it's like, oh, he learns this stuff from Tom Bombadil. I would have just preferred to have him just kind of figure it out.
You would have rather them not have Tom Bombadil in this.
Yeah, personally.
Yeah.
Like it just feels wrong. It's like akin to like if they were like, you know, since this is Lord of the Rings, he's a really popular character.
Yeah, you think it's kind of forced.
We just gotta have this person come in.
Yeah.
You know, that's like kind of how it feels, right? Like,
whereas I'm like a little bit on the, I don't know, I guess since I don't know like
we just have to have Gollum in this, even though it makes no sense for him to be in here. You know what I mean? Like, that's basically how it feels.
Well, like, so like for me, it's just like, I don't know. It's like, I've enjoyed the scenes where Tom is actually there because he's such an interesting character for me because I know nothing about him. So for like, I guess for the casual, it's something that's interesting. And I've only, the casual that's heard that Tom Bombadil is like the shit, you know?
I mean, like, he's just like, he's kind of like not a character though in the books.
True,
like he's
true.
very much,
he's like there.
He's very much
just like for Frodo, like for a little bit, he sees the ring, he puts on the ring. He's like, oh, that thing's bad. And then hands it back. Right.
Basically. Yeah. Like he's basically just like completely just doing his own thing.
Yeah.
And for him to then, and I really hate how the actor's like vocal pattern is.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. It's interesting. It kind of reminds me, and you might not, the audience might get it. You definitely won't because you don't like this show or movie. But he kind of reminds me of Hagrid from Harry Potter. That's what he kind of reminds me of right now, like the way he's talking and the way that he kind of like his mannerisms. He reminds me of is it Robbie Coltrane? I think is the actor. But that's who he kind of like, the way that his voice, his timbre and everything, and the way that he like enunciates. So
yeah, to me, it's very like. Are you really going to do this, laddie? Like just that, like over and over kind of vibe. Like da 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 da.
Yeah, I could see it. I could see it getting annoying.
Like that's how it feels.
But for me, I'm just like so wrapped up in that story.
I feel like if the story actually had things happening for me, I would be way more into it. In the entire season, he's ran into 2 Easterlings. Then the Easterlings find Poppy and Nori. Or like know that they're in with the stores. Mm-hmm. He's run into Tom Bombadil, and that is the only thing that has happened in 6 episodes of this show.
Well, I mean, right? he's trying to find, like, I mean, we've seen Tom use magic.
He's going to try and find his staff.
He's going to try and find his staff.
Nothing has happened besides that. Whereas like what they're like kind of inferring is going to happen is that it's going to be like this duel between wizards and shit.
I guess that's
like,
what I'm like saying. I'm intrigued.
Try and free these Easternly people or something, but like we don't really know any of the Easterlings at this point, really.
I mean,
right?
that's like, the thing that's like so
kind of
interesting to me. It's like I want to learn more about the stewards because obviously that's where Sadek comes from. And like I was going to ask you, it's like, does the word Smeal ever come up? Because that's like what they make their houses. That's like their house. Is that like what the hobbits end up calling their houses, or is it just the Shire?
No, those are just hobbit holes.
So they're just hobbit holes. Okay. I was like so intrigued. Yeah. The new Sadek is what I've dubbed the like I can't think of her name off the top of my head for some reason. I should have wrote it down, but she's so cool to me. I could sit there and listen to her talk for a while. I will have to say
is Gundabale.
Yes, that's right. And then Poppy has a new friend in Nobody. During that scene, all I wanted to say though is put down the snake. Dear gosh, that snake was scaring the crap out of me.
Yeah, they're kissing and then
they just got a snake in one hand.
The snake still,
and she's holding his snake. Wait, what?
Yeah. She has a snake in both hands.
But we kind of talked about it. He's got to go find his staff. It's interesting.
Like,
it's
especially compared to what is happening in the rest of the stories. It's so uninteresting to me, right?
Like the interesting part to me is the it's like do you go after your friends or do you go after your destiny? Is basically what Tom's trying to make it out to be. Is like, should you die? Or, some people die some people live and, that shouldn't die. Some people die that should live, and other, all that fun stuff. But he's basically like, she's your friend or is she your destiny? Are you going to go, this is your choice to make? And obviously he disappears.
And like, I think the idea that's like kind of the like read between the lines maybe is that Tom Bombadil trained the dark fucking wizard and then the wizard went bad kind of thing. And so he's basically just trying to test the stranger and be like, are you pure of heart?
He already trained the other dark wizard is what he basically, the other dark wizard, the other E-Stars already come over and talked to old Tom.
I don't know. When I just compare it to, okay, the literal rings of power are being made in Aragian. There's an impending siege that's going to happen to Aragian. And Numenor is like basically in a civil war. And the king of the dwarves is like falling mad to this ring of power. And there's a Balrog below them.
Yeah, I was gonna ask when that
all of this
play?
stuff. All of this stuff, it's like you literally see the Balrog in this episode when Sauron is like asking for more mithril. He looks into the fire and he sees the shadow of the Balrog in there.
Yeah.
And so he knows that it's there.
True.
Right? Like he can sense its power. Like it's sleeping there, right?
Yep. Duden's Bane.
So he's like, I don't even need to deal with these dwarves. Like they're just gonna kill themselves, like the greed is already consuming him. Like I don't even need to do anything here.
True. They basically they don't. He doesn't have to do jack diddly. The dwarves will kind of take care of themselves. Is basically probably what he's thinking.
Like, Elrond is like literally like sprinting back to try and get an army ready to like instead of send it to Mordor, send it to Aragian.
Yep.
Like everything else that's happening to me is just like infinitely more interesting. There's like a literal like Leviathan being summoned in Numenor, and
which is that the same sea worm you think?
I think maybe.
I think it's interesting if it is, because the only thing that I would say no is I don't remember the sea worm in the original one having like tentacles to grab people with.
Yeah,
that's like the only reason and the other one kind of looked like a shrimp to me, like in the face.
Really? I think it was like more lizardy.
Maybe, yeah. That was so interesting because obviously, Elendil's supposed to be thrown into the water, but instead Muriel comes in like a boss and says, "No, I'm taking his place." My question to you though, and this is just your personal thoughts and your personal preference. If she doesn't, does Elendil die?
No, I don't think so.
You think they could still have it be? I mean, obviously he's got like a part to play, obviously later, so he probably wouldn't. But it's like such an interesting thing. Like they don't let you see if the Valar are actually on his side or what. It kind of makes it seem like everything comes back to Muriel rather than Elendil.
The bigger question is the Leviathan actually the will of the Valar or not?
Yeah.
Right? Because it's like, if it is, then I think he definitely lives. If it's not, and like it's just a coin flip, or like basically like the idea that like because she's blind, she like just no sells it.
Yeah.
Like she can't see what it looks like. She doesn't know what's going on.
True.
So she's just, I'm just locked in. Like,
and I'm not gonna move when something touches me.
Yeah, and like she can hear it roaring and stuff, obviously, but like she's just, there's nothing I can do. I'm just fully surrendered at that point, right? Like the idea that like, if it doesn't sense fear in you, then it thinks it shouldn't kill you or something.
It's not a threat or whatever.
Right. It's like I don't know. That would be like the bigger question, right? Like, is it truly like sentient in that way?
Yeah.
Or not? I think obviously like, Elendil is a very virtuous man, so I think he would have most likely have been spared, unless he just I
think if
he sees this thing and just
the will.
He just starts tweaking like scared or whatever, and so then it kills him.
True. Yeah. I will have to say this is something that I noticed. I don't know if you noticed it on your rewatches or whatever, but it was interesting that whenever she gets spit back out onto the shore, Elendil says, "Hail Tar Miriel, Queen of the Sea," and then the crowd starts chanting, but they don't say Tar Miriel, they say Queen Miriel. Hail, they say, "Hail Queen Miriel, Queen of the Sea." Hail Queen Miriel, Queen of the Sea, rather than Tar. I thought that was interesting.
Tar just means like king or queen.
Which I think, would that be like Elvish?
Numenorian.
Or is that Numenorian?
I think it's Elvish. I think it is Elvish because I'm pretty sure Farazan, he doesn't take Tar.
He doesn't?
He takes our Farazan.
Our Farazan. Interesting.
Yeah. I think he rejects that title specifically.
Oh, something we didn't talk about that was actually like such an interesting one to me too is them stripping all of their ranks because they're loyal to the queen. That scene was sick where Elendil turns in his sword and they're all like, I captain, you know, captain leaving deck or whatever. Oh, that was like my captain type thing. Oh, dude, that was so sick.
And then like that's what like really makes me just feel so weird about Arian as a character, where like she sees that the guy that is like basically clearly trying to riz her up is just taking everything from all these people that she would have grown up knowing.
Yeah.
And like her, like Valandil, her father, like all this stuff, and like not seeming like she's questioning it at all, really. Like she's just completely on their side. But then she's like, oh,
it's bad.
Please,
it's
Father,
bad.
Swallow your pride.
Yeah,
it just feels so weird.
And you may already know this, so if it's like a big spoiler or whatever, just, you know, be like, all right, yeah, we'll wrap that one up later, you know. But how is she gonna deal with the fact that Farazan is using the Palantir? Like that was like she was like, she's using an elf stone. Well, freaking Farazan's using the same stone to peer into the future. Like, that's crazy to me. It's very hypocritical, I guess. I mean, like, shoot, man. She needs to see that he's using it too, just as much, if not more. Because that was like her biggest gripe against Muriel, is that was her counsel.
I think it's really interesting, like, what he sees. Like, he sees what looks like the inside of Mount Doom.
Yeah.
Then the outside of Mount Doom. Then Halbrand.
Yep.
And then the vision ends, right?
Yep, that's it.
And
that's
like, he would have... He knows who Halbrand is, right?
Yeah, he would know Halbrand,
so, like,
yeah.
I wonder... I don't know that they... I don't remember if they end up talking about like what Farazan thinks about the vision or not. Like I genuinely don't remember.
They don't.
Like in the later episodes.
Oh, in the later. Okay.
In the next two episodes, like I don't know, but it's definitely way less clear of like a prophecy, I guess, compared to like the whole island is gonna flood kind of thing, right?
Yeah, true. I mean, it's like such an interesting thing. Obviously, we know that it does, and I want to know how it happens too. That's why I'm like so intrigued about it. But yeah. So kind of to wrap this one up, it's time for war. And we kind of talked about it a little bit, where they hear like the siege bells. Celebrimbor hears those siege bells, and we talked a little bit about it. But that shot where he goes outside and everything is just peaceful, I want to see how they shot that. If it was like a one take shot, like, you know, whenever the Theos going around the village or whatever, that was a one take shot. They did not cut at all. It was all done in one shot. I want to know if that one was like similar, because obviously we see it going from like day to night, and it just, you see the camera swishing around, and we see Anatar, Sauron walking, and it just switches to night, and everybody's freaking out and going crazy because obviously, you know, hellfire is about to be rained down on top of their city. But in this craziness, there's that peacefulness, and I thought it was interesting that Sauron hands Celebrimbor Feanor to use to make the rings.
Feanor's hammer, yeah.
So Feanor's hammer. So that's he uses that to kind of get him to go back into the shop and to actually use that hammer to create the 9 rings for men. Because it seems like they're having a lot of troubles. And I want to know, how did he get that mithril? Did he like pickpocket it somehow? Like,
he said yoink?
Like, that's crazy. Like, did he have it stashed somewhere that we didn't see? But
you will see.
It's such an interesting thing. He's tricking him, saying like, you want to make something as good as the Silmarils, these rings will be that. You know, they won't talk about the Silmarils anymore. They will talk about your rings. And, you know, just mind trick after mind trick after mind trick. He's got him wrapped around his finger.
And it's so funny, like, so many times over, he just completely respins the story, right?
Yep.
Like, he comes there as Halbrand, and he's like, oh, like, my people, you know, kind of thing, right?
Yep.
And then then he's like, okay, I'm not actually human. I'm not actually Halbrand. I'm Anatar, and the reason I'm here is I was sent by the Valar to help you make these rings.
Exactly,
right?
yeah. And it was started off the rings for men. Yeah.
Well, it's like the rings to like to save the elves at first, right?
Well, so yeah, whenever he was Halbrand coming in, he was like, we need to make rings for men to save my people. Then Anatar, and then it switched to dwarves. And now it's 9, a complete number or whatever, that's complete of the 3 or whatever. That's how they end up on 9, and now they're back to men.
Well, and then what I was saying, right? It's like he just keeps changing his story.
Spinning it. Yep.
He comes back and he's like, well, actually, I came to Rhaegan not even because of the Valar. The Valar didn't even need you. I needed you.
Yeah.
I wanted to make great works. That kind of just switch up of like, basically saying like, yo, the Valar don't even bless this shit anymore.
Yeah,
but like Celebrimbor is just so in deep that he doesn't even care.
Exactly.
Like Sauron basically just says like, yo, I wasn't even sent by the Valar.
Yo, I'm here to do evil things and just go do it now. And he's probably like, yes, I will.
He's like, I wanted to make great things, but I couldn't. I need you to make them, basically. But he says it in like a very flattering way, right?
Yeah. I'm gonna just kind of put out what I think will happen, I guess, next. I think we have what 2 more episodes. So obviously we're going to have some more come about, and I'm hopeful that it will be absolutely epic. I don't think we're going to get a big resolution in Rune, and I think that's probably why it's like taking too long to set that up, and that might be why you're like as mad about that storyline, maybe. But I don't know if we'll get an absolute resolution. I think we will at least see Gandalf or the Wanderer getting his staff, at least. I'm hopeful. But in these next episodes, we're gonna see. I think we're gonna see exactly what Galadriel's afraid of happen, and we're gonna see Adar probably taken out, and then all the orcs are gonna start following Anatar / Sauron, and that's how he gets his army.
Interesting. Yeah, definitely. Once for next episode.
Yeah.
I definitely am going to have some like more questions primed for you, like as to like what you think is going to happen, because like for this one, we've been going for like an hour and a half. We didn't really need to like come up with things to talk about.
No,
really,
this one was
so
easy.
much to cover. Yeah. Next time I'm interested to see what you think is going to happen in the finale.
I'm super excited, man.
And obviously what you think about it. So I'm excited.
I don't know if you want to, follow us, obviously follow Jay at the Super SpikeGhetti Bros. They're starting to stream a lot more, guys. You can see Jay take on some wonderful, what is the game? Claire Obscure 33 or whatever the heck it's called.
Yep. I'm still in Act 1.
He's still in Act 1. He's still grinding. There's some Nuzlockes going on. They're about to start doing, what is that? Stardew? That's going to start up soon.
Stardew Valley in a couple weeks.
So you guys can follow me on Swarlz Barkley on Twitch and X, Twitter, whatever you're going to call it. And I'll eventually get back to streaming one of these days.
Oh yeah.
Other than that, man, I thank you for having me come back on this, man. It's really just a fun time to nerd out, and I can't wait to see what else we get to do, man.
Yeah, dude. I've been excited to do this, and having any excuse to dive more deeper into Tolkien lore, like I always love it. Okay. And yeah. Okay. I remember we would do this. What would you give episode 6 out of 10?
Episode 6 out of 10. This one's like, it's coming to a climax. I think that this one for me gets probably like a 8 out of 10. Like it's not getting my 10 out of 10 because I kind of like the things that we talked about. Arian kind of like, really miffs me off in this, but I really like bringing it back around with Elendil and Miriel. That's like kind of like the saving grace of this. And, Farazan really makes me mad, makes my blood boil. But the storytelling's great in it. And we also get to see, obviously, the great shots of at the very end of the episode. I think it's really it's setting up for great episodes to come.
Yeah, I would agree. I'd probably give it the same rating. I'd give it a solid 8 out of 10. I think it has good parts in the front. Really good. I think it's very like a backloaded thing. Yes. Between the siege starting and like literally like that's the last shot is like the
flaming
boulders coming in, right?
Yep. Everybody yelling Nampak.
basically domination of Celebrimbor, right? Like he's completely enthralled in his magic. Adar and Galadriel fighting, like it's very the worm being right before that, like the last 20 minutes of it is a banger.
Yeah, you're like on the edge of your freaking seat.
The like 25 minutes before that, kind of a little bit weaker, but the beginning is good too, right? Between like him forgetting, like you see Arondir fighting some orcs and figuring out like, they're abandoning I need to go to Aragian, and yeah, I really like those type of scenes.
Oh yeah, because he's like following that
path,
like
a world building thing.
Yeah, he's following that path because of the Ents.
Yeah, he's following it because the Ents, and then he kills the orc, and then sees that he has the map, which is like basically a picture of Aragian.
Exactly.
So,
which they were like abandoning their post, which I thought was interesting. Those orcs.
Yeah, he's like, I don't care. Yeah. I'm not gonna die for.
And then what happens?
Chasing a ghost.
He dies.
And then they die.
So, cool, Wayne. Well, how do you want to end this?
I believe how we used to end it was thank you guys so much for watching Second Breakfast. Make sure you enjoy your 11sies and your afternoon tea, and we will be back very soon, probably next week, for the next episode. I don't know how long Swarlz is going to want to wait, and I don't know when we're going to put the next episode out. So you'll see us back very soon on Second Breakfast.
Heck yeah. See you guys.
Thank you.